Round 6, Cape Town, South Africa. Revo on pole from Arnett Babinus Jr. and Bastian Tan. Then it's the other DS Tachito of Marcus Nelson, Oscar Falstad, and new championship leader Sebastian Ocampo. Down on Baltasar is 7th from the Red Devil and Tommy. Then it's Santino Milan, Zach Wallace, who's only finished one race so far, Remy Labau, Daf Sanchez, Pablo Sierra, Tenala Gabo, Enoch Yu, Akari Lopez, Pierre Gasly, the two Mercedes of Mohamed Nawawi and Zay Lane, Cable, and Leo. Well then, Tyre Wolf bringing in a new set of tyres for this race, trialling them out. All 5 lights go on in South Africa. And the Cape Town Prix is green, and that's a very bad start from one of the Renaults of Pablo Sierra there. Babinus Jr. off to a stormer of a start up into the race lead. Revo having to slot into the slipstream as Bastian Tan trying to get past Zay Lane for further back 5 second time penalty for the Mercedes man going alongside Akari Lopez in the slipstream of Pierre Gasly. Bastian Tan goes the deep way round on Revo. 5 second time penalty for Tommy, as well as the two Kiro Renault drivers of Remy Lebeau and the Red Devil fighting over 7th position. As look at that, that's Ocampo who's dropped down to 9th position. Marcus Nelson up into 3rd. Going deep there is Revo to try and hold on to 3rd position, but it is Arnett Babinus Jr. who leads the field for DS Venturi. It is a DS 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with Santino Milan and the two Kiros is bookending that. But we're on board with the Red Devil in one of the most visible cars on the field as Zach Wallace gets a 5 second time penalty. No retirement on the opening lap, thankfully, unlike a lot of the races we've had throughout this season. Nelson and Revo squabbling over 3rd here. Attack mode is officially online on lap 2 of 14. And as Revo finds his way up into 3rd, Bastian Tan goes very deep and takes the race lead in the number 22 as his teammate, who almost dropped down to 7th there, gets a 5 second time penalty. Falstad gets a penalty. And look at that, pretty much everyone with attack mode going down the straight. This is going to be a race filled with action, I can tell you that much. A lot like Oslo last season, but for this man, Cable, he's dropped off the back. Of course, he's on the hard tires, he's trying to go as long as possible, but we're not too sure on how these new tires will actually work. And it does seem like they are working a lot better on the McLaren and the Venturi cars. As look at that from Nelson and Revo going alongside each other into turn number 10. Up into 3rd goes Marcus Nelson as the Red Devils teammate Remy Lebeau up into 5th position. I keep thinking that it's the Red Devil because I see R and I don't think, wait, where's the T and D? But, you know, I'm stupid. So Falstad has dropped down to 6th. As for the championship contenders, Nelson 3rd, Revo 4th, Falstad 7th, and Ocampo is 9th as Bastian Tan sets a new fastest lap as Babinus Jr. looking to the inside, sending it down the inside and getting himself up ahead from the inside. So that is Babinus Jr. up into the race lead. Santino Milan gets a track limits warning. Revo with attack mode currently holding down 3rd position. Marcus Nelson not using any of his attack charge, but he's got the two Kiro Renault drivers right behind him, ready to pounce in case the two DS Stachita men in front of him make any mistakes. Shifting down, of course, there is a transmission to these cars. They aren't like the real F1 cars where you've got direct drive, but of course some things are real, some aren't. As Bastian Tan up ahead, going along, trying to go alongside with Babinus Jr. This was the track layout that last season saw this championship's single closest finish ever at 500ths of a second. The definition of a photo finish is Remy Lebeau trying to get himself past Marcus Nelson, but he's losing so much time down the straight. Due to, I would wager, Marcus Nelson using attack charge, probably. He's going to get attack mode as well. Anyone deciding to dive into the pits on lap 4 of 14, but these tyres do actually seem to be lasting a lot longer Here comes Falstad down the inside, is further up ahead. Revo, oh, the Red Devil gets a 5-second time penalty for colliding with his own teammate. Revo drops the 4th. Pierre Gasly does come into the pits and will be the first man to stop in this race. Bastian Tan and Ironette Babinus Jr., however, still fighting over the race lead, and I feel like we should be focusing a lot more on this fight for the lead. But at the same time, it is just 2 cars compared to the absolute brawl for third that we've got here. That goes from Marcus Nelson down to, I would wager, Tommy in 10th. All of these drivers in contention. Hell, Ocampo, Sanchez, Wallace, Bogdasarov. It is a bit of a train from third all the way down to 6th. And then you've got the Aurelios, the Mercedeses, and the Hondas from 17th down to 22nd, and they are just kind of out of the loop. But here comes Babinus Jr. heading into the final turn. He's going to have a shorter way in, sending it down. They're alongside each other as into the pits comes Bastian Tan. With him, that's Marcus Nelson coming in, as well as the Red Devil, Enoch Yu, Sanchez, and Zach Wallace, who is actually looking as if he can actually finish a race in the season. I think you don't understand this because he has only finished in his FEMC career so far 1 race. His FG Series teammate Zay Lane, of course, he's finished a lot less races. He's finished a lot less races in the points, rather. But hey, at the very least, he has finished more races. As Falstad's found his way ahead of Revo, but of course 5-second time penalty. Not too sure if the number 7 was fighting that one too hard. He's going to get attack mode heading down into turn number 10. I do really like this track layout in some ways, and I really don't like it in others. As here comes Revo going down the inside, and he's still there holding his nerve. He's going to have to be forced to the outside by Falstad. Who knows where to place that car? Remy LeBeau, who won his first race on only the 4th time of asking. He's chasing these guys down. He's not even chasing, he's with them. And Revo, does he look to the inside for a cheeky dive? No, they're all into the pits. In they come. It's a big swarm of drivers entering pit row. This could hinder Revo because he's got the first pit box, but no, didn't seem to hinder him that much. He's going to get a lot of positions back as he's going down. Doesn't lose out to Remy LeBeau, thankfully, but seemingly loses about a 10th to Falstad coming out of the pits. Seemingly more than a 10th. His teammate Marcus Nelson getting past him. Oh, that's a pretty messy exit from pit lane. As, oh, that's an RQ going down the inside and up into 10th position, but back comes Revo, sending it down, going into turn 4, as you've got so much action here. You've got to kind of pick the drivers you want to see fight. As, oh, 20% tire wear for Tommy Howard. Pablo Sierra's tire's doing 35%, and UK balls are doing 48%, so these tires do seem to be lasting quite a bit longer, so it does seem like this tire configuration might continue for the rest of the season. Of course, every season we do like to change up the tires, so it keeps everyone on their toes, but this season it just looked as if they were wearing out too quickly. There's an Q still defending from Revo, keeping the number 7 outside of the points, and it's a point that he personally would really love to have. He's still gone without a win in the first 5 races. There's an Q getting past Mohamed Awawi, forming a bit of a train, holding up Revo. And into the pits does come the Mercedes man. And Santino Milan got past Revo, it seemed. And he's got the 2 Keros behind him as well. Here comes the Red Devil. Many drivers coming out of the pits in acrimonious circumstances. But Revo is still in 8th currently, and that might actually be where he's going to have to stick around for a bit, because Nelson now ahead of Babinus Jr. Bastian Tan is your race leader by 2.7 seconds, half race distance, and Zach Wallace outperforming his Italian teammate. As Pablo Sierra fighting with Akari Lopez. Shouldn't be too much of a contest considering how much less power is in that Aurelio powertrain, but still, Akari Lopez doing all he can. He is an FEMC champion for a reason. You don't just get that for winning one race, IndyCar, NASCAR, but still, he's very competent, as Revo has found his way up into 6th. This is currently a net 5th because of Falstad's time penalty, but it could have been so much more. So much more. I'm pretty sure he started this race on pole. He's just lost out from there. So on to lap 8 we go. Falstad in 4th position, sets a new fastest lap, getting past Marcus Nelson, and even Ina Babinas Jr. sending it down the inside and up into 2nd, making it a McLaren 1-2 on the road. Because remember, he's got that 5-second time penalty. I'm going to keep reminding you of this because it's very important to the race. But you can see how the rest of the field just shoots out of there like it's billiard balls. It's all just like snooker with how they come through the first chicane in such a massive pack, and it's a wonder how they haven't wrecked, how there hasn't been a single DNF, considering that we've got 6 laps to go. But still, Bastian Tan leads the field from Oscar Falstad, who is chasing his own teammate down. And I think, theoretically, if Bastian does decide to pit, or has any sort of issues, we could actually see a grandstand finish, the likes of which we've seen in Oslo last season and London last season. Last season might as well have been the season for photo finishes, as we're looking back at Marcus Nelson rounding the final turn. They're all still out there at the top 5 with 5 laps to go. Marcus Nelson leading. Marcus Nelson isn't leading, he's in 4th, sorry. Bastian Tan leading from teammate Oscar Falstad and Ina Babinas Jr., but they're getting so much closer. Babinas Jr. to 2nd. Can he take the lead here? He's using both attack mode and charge, but he's not quite close enough. Falstad does send it back down the inside, but what is happening with Falstad's teammate for him to be getting so much closer? Pierre Gasly's come in. Falstad on the back of Bastian Tan ahead. So here they come, down through turn 9, and now, with attack mode, here comes Falstad with the fastest lap to get past his teammate. This should be an easy one. Team orders enforce papaya rules, and Falstad takes the lead ahead of teammate Bastian Tan to keep the tradition of 3 race winners in the first 6 races. This seems to be one of the least competitive seasons in this championship's history. At least that's what the numbers will tell you, but the racing tells us something different entirely. And I do believe that is the pit for Bastian Tan and Marcus Nelson with 4 laps to go. They're going to have to try and slice and dice their way through the field. But it's Babinas Jr. now versus Oscar Falstad coming through the first chicane. No real moves being made here. But he's got the slipstream on Oscar in front of him. And he's 0.2 of a second back. This should be an easy pass. Or he should get attack mode quite easily. But if he can find a way to get past the Norwegian man in front of him, this should be easy for Babinas Jr. But I don't think Falstad is going to make it that easy for him. Zay Layton also into the pits. It's also into the pits. Daniel Bogdasarov. Falstad still leading, but for how much longer? Here comes Babinas Jr. with attack mode. There goes Ina Babinas Jr. with attack mode. Going alongside each other into 10. And that is Ina Babinas Jr. leading the Prix from Falstad, Sanchez, Tommy, and Arabo. The top 5. And it's a top 5 that might all come into the pits at the end of this lap. And for Revo, who started this race on medium compound tyres, might just be ruining that decision because it just didn't seem to work out that well. And were there problems for Daniel Bogdasarov before he came into the pits? I'm not too sure. He might have gotten a puncture, but into the pits comes Falstad, Babinas Jr., and Sanchez, as well as Revo. And Revo going on to mediums. So that's going to be him handily making it to the end of this race. But will it be worth it going on to slower medium compound tyres? As also into the pits comes Tenali Gabo. So it is Tommy who leads. Tommy 4 seconds up the road from Ocampo and Remy Lebeau. And Remy, he's going for a second race win if he can pull those tyres together. I'm not too sure if he can. But he is right there on the back of Sebastian Ocampo, closing in, getting as close as possible. He probably won't be trying to make the move, as making the move there on Marcus Nelson is Oscar Falstad, as we go on board with the number 13. It's getting a lot, but it's getting quite a bit choppy as there goes Staff Sanchez ahead of the 13. These two likely have been teammates before. I'm not too sure. I'm not going to check it. But they've both got attack mode. If they can just use this attack mode in tandem with attack charge, and Vasti and Tan softs can just go off the cliff. In fact, considering how tire wear has been in recent tests, there's a likelihood that Bastian's tires will go off the cliff by the end of the race. In comes Ocampo, Remy LeBeau, and Somi for soft tires. And they will start lap 12 in the pits for these guys, onto lap 12, so that's 2 to go. Bastian Tan in the lead of this race from Oscar Falstad and Daf Sanchez. Then it's Marcus Nelson, Ionet Babinas Jr. and Not Huey. Zach Wallace, Pablo Sierra, Revo, and the Red Devil, the top 10. And there are gaps are beginning to form between drivers, and that probably tells us that now they're all just trying to conserve tyres for the end of this race. Falstad getting a fastest first sector of anyone. We hoped for a grandstand finish like Oslo last season, but currently doesn't seem like we're going to get that. 1.9 seconds is the gap, 2 point something. And tyre wear, keep an eye on that. 76 for Falstad, 62 for Vasti and Tan, and these guys came in a lap apart, so it's about 13% the difference between first and second. That's the difference between an entire lap worth of tyre life. And you know what? Vastian's tyres might be struggling quite a bit by the end of this race, and that's actually going to be somewhat encouraging for Revo and Pablo Sierra, because they're both on mediums that won't be as quick as in comes two drivers. Sierra, Revo, look at that, they're fighting with Zach Wallace over 6th position. Falstad's been passed by Daf Sanchez further ahead. They're going 4 wide into turn 1, and Wallace is definitely still under threat from Revo here, who's found his way up into 7th. He's gonna try and make it 6th. It'd be 6th either way, and it is gonna be 6th on the road for Revo, who sends it down the inside into turn 4 and takes the position away from the Simmons Motorsport man, trying to finish a race and score points, but that time penalty is not doing him any justice in the slightest. And I'd love to look further up front, but Tommy and Sierra are making it very hard to, because if you take a look on the timing tower and now onto the track, finally, Sanchez, Falstad, and Vasti and Tan separated by half a second. If it comes down to the record for the closest finish, if Falstad is second or first, it will not count towards that because of his time penalty. He would drop outside of this battle completely. But here comes Daf Sanchez. He's going to get attack mode on the penultimate lap. They're going side by side as on to the final lap of the Cape Town Prix here in South Africa. Daf Sanchez takes the lead from his compatriot, the 72 ahead of the 22. But can Vasti and Tan find a way with attack mode, trying to close in on his compatriot ahead? But here comes Oscar Falstad, setting it on Vasti and Tan. He's not fighting for the podium. In fact, of course, his 5-second time penalty hindering him in every possible way. We might still get a close finish by the end of this race. It probably won't count towards the record due to Falstad's time penalty as a round turn number 9. But for Daf Sanchez, he would love to have a race win, whether that be under the lights or in any other condition. He hasn't won in so long. The podium last time out in Abuja, lifting his spirits. It was a 1-2 for Andretti. They're only going to get 1 car score points today on the road. I'm not too sure when it comes to the actual finishing order. But for Oscar Falstad, his time penalty definitely hindering him. Rounding the final turn then, it'll be Daf Sanchez who wins the Cape Town Prix, but it's a drag race to the finish. Falstad gets the fastest lap. It's a 116 thousandths gap there. And Okiwi setting a fastest second sector. Revo will come home and be classified as 6th. And that was quite the finish indeed, quite the finish. And for Falstad, he will come home with the fastest lap currently, and I do think it will be confirmed that he will have that fastest lap. Nope, Innocuous stolen it from him, a 1:13.5. As if it was something to have solace in the fact that he and his team had the quickest car all day. It was just the strategy that kind of hindered them today, but Falstad drops outside of the podium. He will drop to 5th position, and it will be Daf Sanchez who wins finally in this championship. Nakari trying to make his own grandstand finish, but it was 240 thousandths of a second. This is the podium then. Still a McLaren driver on the podium, but it's not the one that you're thinking of. Daf Sanchez takes home the race win from Bastian Tan and Ionet Babinas Jr. Don't question why they've all got purple helmets. Then it's Marcus Nelson, Oscar Falstad, Revo, Remy LeBeau, and Pablo Sierra. Then you've got Sebastian Ocampo, who just about scored points today. Then Tommy Tonali Gabo outside of the points. Then you've got Santino Milan, the Red Devil, Zach Wallace, and Q, Leo, Mohamed Awawi, Daniel Bogdasarov, View Cable, Zay Lane, Pierre Gasly, and Akari Lopez. In the driver's standings, Oscar Falstad reclaims the lead of the championship from Sebastian Ocampo and Revo. Then it's Daf Sanchez, Ionet Babinas Jr., Marcus Nelson, Remy LeBeau, Tommy, the top 8 from Daniel Bogdasarov, Q, Bastian Tan, Santino Milan, Leo, Tonali Gabo, Pablo Sierra, the Red Devil, View Cable, Zay Lane, and Pierre Gasly, Zach Wallace, Akari Lopez, and Mohamed Awawi, with the last 4 drivers I've just listed off not scoring any points. In the constructors' standings, heading into round 7 in Lagos, that's right, we've got 2 races in Nigeria. DS Andretti lead the way from DS Techeetah and DS McLaren TGR. Then it's DS Venturi Formula E team, Kiro Renault, Renault Edams, Nissan Nismo, Aurelio Pinnacle, Sims Motorsport, Braun Honda, Mercedes EQ, in that order. So we'll see you guys next time then when the Formula E Monopoly Championship returns.